The Indo-Pakistani air war in May 2025 can be said to be the first time, after the 21st century, that Chinese warplanes had a combat confrontation with Western warplanes. The Pakistani fighters were mainly Chinese J-10CEs, while the Indian fighters were mainly French Rafales. The result is also to let the West was shocked. Pakistan itself did not have a warplane damaged or shot down, but the Indian side was shot down 3 Rafale, 1 Su-30 and 1 MiG-29, a total of 5 warplanes. This air war also let the US military and even the entire West realize that the Chinese Air Force may be the most terrible. After all, Pakistan has been able to do so far, can only say that China is far more powerful than they imagined. The India-Pakistan air war proved one thing, that is, the over-the-horizon air combat system is certainly better than the close-range fighting. 2017, 2 Chinese think tank organizations, China Command and Control Society, and the Yuanwang think tank held a symposium on future air combat. A very interesting picture appeared in this seminar. An instructor asked a student, "Why dogfighting?" The student said his fighter has super maneuverability. The instructor directly refuted him, said, "Because you are stupid." Later, this picture became a long-lasting segment of the military fan circle. We are discussing the fighters over the horizon air combat capability and super maneuverability to bring close-range dogfighting ability in the end, which is more important. And this India-Pakistan air battle undoubtedly proved that it is the over-the-horizon striking ability is more important. In this air battle, Pakistan and India's warplanes were once 160 kilometers apart, but at this distance Pakistan's J-10CE fighters with AWACS launched PL-15E missiles to shoot down India's 5 fighters with a very long striking distance. And according to Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar, at that time the Pakistani side actually locked 15 Indian warplanes, and originally Pakistan was able to shoot down more warplanes. But in order to control the situation and avoid escalation, Pakistan shot down only 5 of the 15 planes. In contrast, the Indian side of more than 100 kilometers away from their own, or even 160 kilometers away from the Pakistani warplanes, have no power to fight back. To India to lose the air war can be declared a victory. The country celebrated for 10 days and notify the diplomats of 70 countries to recognize their own victory in this military operation style of behavior. But would the Indian side of the warplanes also have over-the-horizon striking ability? That India would have done it, and will be in the media even more grand to announce that they have won. It can be said that the air war between India and Pakistan proved that the modern air war has completely turned into a beyond visual range air war. Your air force strikes farther away. That in the air war will be more advantageous. The result of the air war also proved that the J-10CEs over-the-horizon striking capability is much stronger than that of the French Rafale. In addition to the J-10C, China also has J-16 and J-20 fighters with longer range detection, as well as its own version of PL-15 missiles that have a much longer range than the PL-15E in Pakistan's hands. So the Chinese Air Force's over-the-horizon striking capability will only be stronger. France's Rafale can't even defeat the J-10CE, so naturally it can't defeat these more advanced weaponry in China's hands. In fact, not only France, the current Western boss, the United States, in the beyond visual range strike capability are behind China. Currently the United States is mainly in service with 4 models equipped with the most advanced radar, active phased array radar fighter, respectively, F-16V fighter, F-15X fighter, F-22 fighter and F-35 fighter. Among them, the F-16V fighter jet is benchmarked against our J-10C fighter jet, and the F-15X fighter jet is benchmarked against our J-16 fighter jet. The technical level of these fighters in general does not have much difference. There is a difference as the 5 generations of aircraft in service between China and the United States. The problem with the US F-22 fighter is that it is equipped with radar has fallen behind. The F-22 fighter uses a PG-77 active phased array radar, although it is also an active phased array radar, but the raw material of its radar our components is gallium arsenide, and China, thanks to the advanced electronics industry, and even cell phone charger head are starting to use gallium nitride materials. Not to mention the J-16, J-16X, 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 and J-16X. Not to mention the radar used in J-16 and J-20 fighters. Gallium nitride material radar compared to gallium arsenide material radar has a large detection distance, higher resolution, heat resistance and other advantages. In the detection distance, gallium nitride T, our components have more power than gallium arsenide T, our components. The former 1T, our component power can be close to 120 watts, the latter 1T, our component power is only more than 10 to more than 20 watts. T, our component power has such a big gap that the detection distance will naturally appear a huge gap. In the resolution, gallium nitride T, our components of the bandwidth is larger, can cover the LX band. So compared to gallium arsenide T, our components have a greater resolution, identify stealth fighters will be easier. As for heat resistance, gallium nitride is more resistant to high temperature than gallium arsenide, and the stronger high temperature resistance makes gallium nitride T, our components can be more powerful and longer use. So the same active phased array radar, the Chinese J-20 and J-16 fighters with, to be far stronger than the US F-22 fighter radar. In fact, the US F-35 fighters in the first few batches, with the radar is a PG-81 radar, which is also gallium arsenide active phased array radar, and a PG-81 radar follow-up US from the 17th batch of F-35 fighters began to switch to a PG-85 radar. This radar only finally used gallium nitride T, our components, in technology to reach the Chinese radar technology level in 2010-2015. However, even if the F-35 has used the active phased array radar with gallium nitride, the F-35s are still smaller than China's J-16s and J-20s in terms of detection range. The biggest reason behind this is the difference in radar size between the two sides of the warplanes. The radar size of the F-35 warplanes is smaller than the radar size of the J-16 and J-20. In the case of the same level of radar technology, the radar size is bigger, there will be more T, our components, and then the detection distance will be farther. Not to mention that although the F-35 uses gallium nitride radar, its technical level is actually still slightly lower than our most advanced military radar. In addition, China and the United States also have a huge gap in the range of air-to-air missiles. China's current PL-15 missiles have a maximum range of more than 200 kilometers. The U.S. current AIM-120C D missiles have a maximum range of about 160 kilometers. The United States is currently developing AIM-260 air-to-air missiles. The maximum range of this missile may reach the level of PL-15 missiles, but the Chinese side is also engaged in longer-range PL-17 missiles. PL-17 missiles may be more than 300 kilometers, or even 400 kilometers of the level, still crushing the U.S. long-range air-to-air missiles. So after this India-Pakistan air war, the U.S. military should be sober. Summit.